My name is Mike Manzi. I'm the Director of Specifications and Quality Control at Bora Architects in Portland, Oregon. The number of products with HPDs as well as declare labels and cradle-to-cradle certifications is growing steadily. The challenge that remains is finding enough products to promote competition across all product categories. If you've selected a product already, it's easy to search the HPD repository to see if that product has an HPD, or to search a declare label or cradle-to-cradle certification on those websites. It's less easy, though no longer impossible, to find 2 or 3 comparable products that you can specify with that initial one for a competitively bid project. We on the technical committee track the progress of HPDs, and we are seeing probably about 100 new HPDs a month being created. I think that's the right number. And now that we're currently on version 2.1 of the HPD, and we're seeing a steady increase in version 2.1 HPDs and a decrease in version 1 and version 2.0 HPDs as manufacturers upgrade to the newer version, which has a lot of good features in it. Probably one of the bigger ones is its ability to indicate whether an HPD would most likely comply with the LEED requirements in the LEED UB4. As more designers and owners are asking for this kind of information, and manufacturers are responding to the request, and more manufacturers are realizing, I guess they're looking around, seeing other manufacturers provide these and realizing they have to keep up. We sort of always envisioned the HPD as, just like product data, manufacturers would have an HPD. So as you're going to look for a product, you look at the product data to look at things like durability and things that you need to know how to use, what you need to know how to use that product and how to detail with that product. And you look at the HPD to get an understanding of the potential health issues associated with that product as well. And you look at an EPD to see how that product performs in sustainable aspects across the board. While transparency is steadily growing in the building industry, big challenges do remain for designers and users of this information. Designers are not chemists or material health experts. Most products contain chemicals with long names, and most chemical names sound scary. The HPD is designed to help this by linking each product ingredient with its known hazards. Unfortunately, we're still at a state in the industry where lack of identified hazards may simply mean a lack of available information. So what we need more than anything is just more and better information. We need to drastically reduce the number of LT UNCs that show up on HPDs and replace them with more benchmark 3s and benchmark 4s. The HPD can be a great resource when the availability of good data behind it is complete. The Greenscreen is a program that looks at chemicals and assesses them in a couple different ways. One is it uses a list translator to, much the same way that HPD does, is to look those up against authoritative lists to see where those chemicals have been known to have associated health impacts. The other way is that they do a more deep dive full assessment, and when they do the list translation, they often come up with what they call UNC. We call LT UNC, which is unknown, which is there's not quite enough information to know just from the list whether that would be a hazardous material or how hazardous a material that would be. But when they do a full Greenscreen assessment, they can come up with everything from benchmark 1, which is hazardous, to benchmark 4, which is basically benign. So the HPD can show where those benchmark 3s and 4 chemicals exist, and that's really what we want to see, is more of those. And that's when we know we're driving the industry towards healthier products. Although we are working hard to harmonize our efforts around transparency and material health, I have a hard time imagining a single standard for product health. There are just too many variables. For some products, performance may be more important than health. Other environmental impacts like contribution to global warming may be more important. So each product type may have unique health criteria depending on the age of the underlying health of its occupants, a school, for example, versus a hospital. But we can standardize the way that we gather, report, and talk about materials and health. And that's been the focus of our harmonization efforts. Everything from using similar terminology, calling it an ingredient versus a substance. What does a residual mean? How do we qualify geological or biological materials or recycled content? This is important so that manufacturers don't have to reinvent the wheel for every standard, and also so that users have any hope at all of ever making sense of it all, just so that everybody's sort of speaking the same language. So harmonization is occurring around how we report and talk about these metrics, but the metrics themselves will probably continue to vary depending on the specific circumstances. As public awareness and market demand for healthier products increase, I think basic economics does sort of make some of these options more expensive as manufacturers are trying to recoup some of their research and development expenses and benefit from honestly being the first one to create a more desirable version of something. However, as with any innovation, market demand will eventually make the health optimized version the standard version, and then competition will bring the cost back down, or at least back equal across products. So the designer's role is to relentlessly insist on transparency and drive the market towards optimization as the standard.